work from.
Hi everybody, good morning and welcome back to VMworld 2014 here in Barcelona. I believe right now we're doing our vExpert roundup. I'm here with my good friends Gabe Chapman and Damian Carlson. How are you doing, guys?
I'm doing great. How about you, Josh?
Pretty great, pretty great.
Doing well. Now Gabe, you might need to speak up a little bit. I don't think we're picking you up.
I have a mic right here. You have your own mic.
All right.
Yeah.
I've spoken to it.
Okay, thank you.
So guys, we're now, I guess, into our second full day of VMworld. Yesterday was pretty busy. What were your biggest takeaways, I'd say, from yesterday? I'll start with you, Damian.
I got nothing. I mean, seriously.
Oh, okay, great. I was setting you up. Gabe, how about yourself?
I think that, I think we had a great discussion last night. We were talking about how this year seems different than other years in the past. Can you hear me? All right. This year seems a little more different. Seems like there's a lot more new energy at a VMworld conference that I've not experienced before. I've been to VM conferences in the U.S. mostly, and this is my first time in EMEA, and it just seems like there's a different vibe.
Mostly being like all the time.
Clown boat. But there's a big difference this year. It's a different vibe, a different sense of energy. I can't quite put. It's almost like maybe there's a whole lot of new attendees or first-time attendees. I think we were talking last night, me, you, and John Troyer about this. Around, it would be interesting to see what the number or the makeup of attendees is. First-time attendees versus long-time.
Yeah, net new, because I had the opportunity to speak with a VMware employee that works with the channels in EMEA, mainly on the eastern side of Europe, and she was telling me that the market there has been very, very strong. And one of the things that as a vExpert, I'm very fundamentally aware of the VMware ecosystem and the software. So I take for granted a lot that not everybody has really already adopted VMware virtualization to the degree that the people that we interact with on a daily basis is. So it
really
seriously, like there's still emerging markets for VMware software apparently.
Believe it or not, there are still greenfield environments, and I've ran into several of them in the last year, last 2 years, going out and meeting hundreds of different new customers. Greenfield environments, it's like you could not have a better customer potential with somebody like that who's got 50 super microservers sitting in a closet someplace, and they're like, oh wow, we can collapse and do all this. I mean, you still have some pushback against virtualization in some organizations, be it specific workloads, licensing requirements, specific hardware. You still see some of that, and I think what we're now kind of, it's beyond critical mass, and the adoption rate is pretty high. I think now that there are actually more choices in the type of hypervisor and the type of solutions you can buy, or a turnkey type solution that you can buy, that the adoption rate may be even getting higher in organizations and areas where it wasn't previously feasible.
Yeah, no, that's completely fair. And one of the other things that I noticed is that the spaces that were provided by VMware for VMworld in Barcelona this year have been fantastic. It's been very comfortable as an attendee. Everything has been very, very accessible. They did a phenomenal job with the community stage and the community social media and community area just to the side of the stage. Drinks have been plentiful. No one has had to go thirsty and completely go hungry, which is
I've actually not really eaten in 2 days, so.
Okay, so now I think we all agree the show so far has been a lot of fun and it's been great. Let's talk a little bit about some of the things from a product perspective that we're seeing at the show. I'll start with EvoRail. Damian.
I think it's a bit of a game changer. What I think
drink.
Sorry. Magic quadrant hybridity. Do you realize? Yeah.
Is your hybridity intact?
Yeah. My hybridity is at scale.
Is it VDB scale?
Yeah. One of the more interesting things about the entire EvoRail project is their go-to-market, because it involves multiple partners, which is kind of interesting.
Now, if you're on site and you have an opportunity, and maybe I can try to go and grab some video of it later, but at the back of the Solutions Exchange, they have the EvoRail, like...
Just past the next sentence.
It's
just past the next sentence.
Thank you, Mike.
VMware, Nexenta, then Evo.
Okay, so it's near the Nexenta booth. I'll make sure to throw that out there. Okay, but they had the EvoRail solution area where you can actually go and see the various EvoRail deployments from each of the supporting partners, and I think there's 8 now, maybe 9. There's several of them.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously.
I
knew
funny thing
maybe
is,
3.
there's a giant sign that says like Evo Zone, yeah, and I'm like, I had no idea that was there, and my booth is right across from it. I'm like,
You walk past, you see
So-
a lot of orange, and then you see Evo Zone.
So the Evo Zone, they had said on Twitter that that's the largest banner that's ever been displayed at Fiera Gran Via. Like, that's the largest one they've ever had.
wow. That's
How large
amazing.
is this banner?
It's massive. Like, it is a truly massive banner.
Josh is all about size.
It's 16 Atwells across.
So it's like 27 feet.
Yeah, it's a pretty good sized banner. All right, now shifting gears a little bit then.
No, let's talk about Evo. I mean, because obviously the hyperconverged stuff is my my area of expertise as of late. I find it interesting from a product standpoint that essentially, here's VMware basically dictating a hardware stack to vendors and saying, hey, you know what, this is what form factor we want this to look like. Now you go out and put this stack of software in. I'll be more curious to see what the value add is from the different vendors and how they bring that message across to their customers. Because ultimately, at the bottom, when you look at it, all right, I have Supermicro, and I have HP, and I have Fujitsu, and I have Hitachi, and I have all these other vendors, but they're all running the exact same hardware spec for the most part. They're all running the exact same software spec. So why would I, why wouldn't I just go race to the bottom on price and choose Supermicro, the cheapest unit?
Yeah,
right?
I think what you're going to see, and that the real value that's going to come from this is in the ways that they differentiate. One of the fundamental things that customers have to consider when they're evaluating EvoRail is who's going to support the platform, right? Because the support is owned by the delivering partner.
So do you
And
like?
he's going to live longer, right? Like,
Well,
because seriously,
I mean, I think all the companies
there's
that
a lot
are
of fluctuations.
I mean, obviously you're seeing changes with HP. It's split in half. You could see a mega merger coming at some point down the road. I'm curious. You can look at the direction and say, hey, who isn't in part of EvoRail and why? Right? Because I think that there's others that are saying, you know what, this kind of takes away some of the value from some of the other products we already offer. Right? So if I want to go out and sell a bunch of 4-node, 4-socket beefy scale-up servers, but I have the EvoRail offering, I'm like, well, am I going to take away from my own business where the margins are better on our part?
Well, the interesting thing on that is that the EvoRail product really targets a specific type of market, right? It's a market where they want that level of distribution in a compact framework.
Right.
More hosts is not necessarily bad, right? Because over the last 6 years we've seen this great proliferation of hosts with a terabyte of memory.
Right.
I remember when the config maximums hit. I think it was vSphere 5, and there was like 1 terabyte of memory. I'm like, who's going to do that? And then 6 weeks later, there's servers out with and I'm like,
Nobody
that is
needs
tremendous.
640 kilobytes. Nobody.
Kilobytes.
But I mean, you can get a server today with 6 terabytes of RAM in it, right? That's just
Seriously.
that's bonkers.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. So, but when you look at the EvoRail, product and the market that I think it's going to target, there's certainly going to be some overlap. I think the overall success is going to be in how well VMware continues to market it and promote it, and the use cases for it, and also how well the sales forces that are related to the individual partners understand its place and not just kind of throw it at every deal to see if it sticks.
Exactly.
Right?
I think it's like the
Because
ultimate.
VMware never does that.
Well, I mean, here's the thing, right? So that's an interesting statement, and I'll get to that in just a second, because I don't want to derail us off of EvoRail yet. But when you look at the space, I think the biggest takeaway is that VMware, EMC, Cisco, HP, Dell, a lot of these companies, one of the main things they're trying to make it operationally more efficient to run these ecosystems, these stacks.
They're selling simplicity now, right? I want a simple turnkey solution instead of one that I have to get 6 different people involved.
Right.
We want to break down silos in IT, and we look at specifically around the use case around something like an EvoRail, where it's going to be, initially it's probably going to be small shops with 1 or 2 IT people, that they are everything. They have to be, the IT generalist, So for them, they want something very simple, turnkey, and easy to deploy, and then they can worry about the apps and the things that are going to work and provision on top of it. Now, that's definitely not the model that the AT&Ts of the world are going to be leveraging. There's a group of about 150 or 200 companies where they're going to bring in every piece of technology under the sun to try it out and see how it works with an organization. But then you get this vast, 85% of the customer base that's out there today. VMworld will fit into different various solutions in their data centers, where it's whether it's a DMZ cluster, or it's a test group, or it's some shadow IT group sitting in a closet someplace that's building whatever.
So I think what I'm hearing more than anything is that the vExpert should all receive an VMworld.
I would love an VMworld. So if you're listening, please send us VMworlds.
They're not listening.
Oh,
I don't. They're probably not. But that's okay.
This is the best discussion on VMworld here at the conference.
I will actually contest that. The VMworld Zone is actually pretty cool, and they also have the VMworld Challenge.
I did the VMworld Challenge.
Did you?
Yes.
So tell everybody a little bit about what the VMworld Challenge is.
Right. So I thought, all right, let's go take a look and let's test drive this solution. So you can go over there, sign up with, and it's what's really cool about it is the actual engineers who created VMworld are managing the challenge. So they're going to kind of handhold you and walk you through an actual VMworld deployment, which is essentially just putting some IPs and names in there. It really is. I will say it is probably the most simplistic way to deploy a 4-node cluster that you will ever see in your lifetime. It took me all of 3 minutes of actual work, right? And that's they try to trick you up by basically changing some of the pre-configured IP addresses in there, and you have to troubleshoot it. But outside of the 15 minutes for the thing to spin up, I only spent 3 minutes and 0.56 seconds working to get up a 4-node cluster, and that's go back to vSphere 3.
Right.
You spent 3 minutes working.
Well,
that's like 4 minutes longer than he ever has.
Right.
So what is 0.56 seconds? That's like a decimal and a fraction. That math doesn't. It doesn't work. It doesn't work.
Do I look like
I think he was.
math?
I think he was going for milliseconds.
That's the one, right? And I think
Picoseconds.
because latency is all about me.
Right.
Delayed latency.
Yeah.
Latent latency.
Eventual consistency. Yeah.
It's hybridity.
Shared nothing.
Wow.
It is hybridity.
This is evolving really quickly.
Okay, so let's switch gears a little bit.
Let's move on to we are all beta customers.
Oh man. So vCloud Code Stream. It was mentioned and discussed during the keynote. I only caught the last half of it. Did either of you catch the full hybridity of the vCloud Code Stream product?
No, I was actually in the middle of a faxing, so.
Well, here's something. I did a little reading up, looking at the slides, and trying to backfill what I had missed. And it seems that what VMware is delivering is a software solution that integrates with the vRealize suite that does code deployment management, and it allows organizations who are developing to manage their development lifecycle through that suite. And it seems to me we're going back to something that I've been talking about a lot lately, is how our data centers are becoming ecosystems related to a vendor. And this is an opportunity for VMware to not only say we are the best platform for your hybridity, but we're also going to provide you additional tools and capabilities that will allow your development cycle and your desire to move to a more DevOps culture. Like, now we're providing you a holistic ecosystem around that. Now, with respect to that, what do you think about the market for something like that?
I mean, there's going to be solutions out there already today that are vastly more mature.
Yes.
And that people are accustomed to using and have been able to leverage over the years when there's a skill set associated with those. And if they can integrate some of those points into what VMware's trying to do, then they'll probably have a lot more of a success. Mm-hmm. I don't know if somebody's going to take a whole massive shift off of what they have in place today and go into something like this hybridity model. I think there's going to be challenges around some of that stuff, but also, VMware has to diverge their space. It can't just be a hypervisor anymore. I mean, obviously that's the bread and butter. You look at a lot of companies out there today. They have their main cash cow product, and you've seen them kind of reinvent themselves or actually create marketplaces that probably didn't exist before based on the amount of install base they have. They can actually go out and fundamentally change how a lot of organizations work and deploy infrastructure and apps just based on offering some new things. And you've seen that. You've seen the evolution of vCloud, and then vCAC, and now what, vRealize.
vRealize Automation Center, right?
Jesus, it's like so
Well,
much.
you know, the funny thing about that,
I can't even keep up anymore.
the bits and bytes still say vCloud Automation Center.
They do, they do.
So we'll see when that transition kicks in. It will probably happen right as I release the vCenter Orchestrator plugin for SolidFire, and I do my vCAC integration, then I have to change all my documentation. So, Damon, you had some thoughts on the...
So Josh Allen was kind of a big deal on the internet.
¿Sabes quién yo? Do you know who I am?
Let's not go there.
Yeah. So Damien, you had some thoughts on the vRealize code stream?
So you were talking about there are a lot of competing products in the market. Actually, my viewpoint is the opposite of that. There's actually not really a whole lot that does those things well.
Well, do we know if it does it well yet?
.next is going to walk on water. Sorry. Soap. Yeah, so there was a company that was acquired by CSC, and they actually did a really great job at being able to offer those release management environments, and being able to do automated builds from Jenkins and actually push into that environment and have the entire environment deployed. Right. So yeah. It'll definitely be interesting to see where VMware goes with this. My own personal opinion and disclaimer, just Damien, not Damien's employer. VMware's kind of late to the game.
Yeah,
a little bit late to the game, but I'm glad to see that they're.
But large ships usually take a lot longer to turn, right? So if I'm somebody like like even Jenkins or even the groups around some of that ecosystem, it's 45 developers. And that's all there is, and that's all their core focus is going to be on, they're going to be a lot better at it initially. And it takes time for others to catch up. So, large organizations can obviously throw a lot of money and resources behind something, but then again also, they have so many more integration points that they have to work with, right? And they have to have that validation across a very vast, wide swath of product. And then, there's internal battles between the engineering teams and product management teams that BUs themselves on how we deliver, how we productize, how we price this type of stuff. It's not a simple endeavor. It's just like, hey, I want to release a product.
So one of the things that I've gotten out over the last few months, I've attended several conferences that were very related to the DevOps mindset and code delivery and that culture. And one of the biggest takeaways I got from the DevOps Summit in Chicago was it's really about trust. In order to be successful in adopting that type of culture and moving to that framework, there has to be trust from the infrastructure side and from the development side, and mutual, everybody's pulling in the same direction, right? When I look at something like VMware putting together the vRealize code stream and working to integrate that into the platform, it has the potential to be an extremely powerful deliverable to an organization who is in current pain at their delivery cycle, and they need that as a differentiation. Now they have a company that they trust with platforms that they already run on, being able to extend into the vRealize vCloud network, right, or the vCloud Air network. Wow, man, it's a lot of changes.
Ultimate vendor lock-in.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, no, it really is.
It is the ultimate.
Yeah, I mean, it becomes very much the ultimate vendor.
life.
Right. But here's the funny thing, right? The funny thing about that is we're all locked in, right? Because the value that's being delivered has continued to be great, and it's one of those it's an easy conversation. It's like, this stuff delivers. I'm very interested to see if this actually delivers. Right, and who's going to start using it? How is it going to be adopted? How is it going to be sold? How will it be packaged and licensed and things like that?
Who's the target audience for this part?
Right.
Right.
Yeah. This one's a little bit harder.
This is not something that Mary Jane's car garage that has 4 servers is going to be deploying tomorrow.
Right. Yeah, this is starting to feel much more of that VMware is trying to allow the bypassers and the shadow IT to stop bypassing quite so much by providing an easier solution that can be more managed by IT and tracked and monitored by IT. So it should be pretty interesting. Hopefully over the solutions area they'll have something. If they do, we'll have to report on it tomorrow.
So a little bit of a side note, I kind of take issue with shadow IT as a term because I feel that it's blaming the end user.
Yeah.
But where
for
the blame
failures of the
lies,
infrastructure, from the IT department, right?
Right.
It's it's for so often. I mean, I spent 15 years as an end user myself before I became evil. But really, it was like
there was a before.
Oh, I know. If there was always a time, there was a very frequent ability and easy way to say no to the ask of the business, right? Oh, well, that's hard with security, or we have to dedicate resources to this. I'm like, and there has to be a different mindset in IT that's like, no, the end user in your company are your customers, and that's that mindset that needs to be taking place. And then you have to go be able to enact and empower those people to do their jobs. And that's where shadow IT comes from, is where you're like, dude, I'm frustrated. I'm just going to take my credit card, I'm going to swipe it and spin up the workload someplace else.
Right, yeah.
And I think also too, though, is that you've seen this fundamental battle between the developer teams inside a lot of organizations and the general popular IT, and those groups just don't seem to want to work together for some reason. But with the advent of DevOps, with the DevOps culture coming in, you're starting to see more of that cross hybridization, pollination, or hybridity. Oh man, that's awful.
Cultural hybridity.
Hybridity.
We're really driving hybridity right into the. No, we really shouldn't.
But also too, I think that there's a challenge in the skill set, right? I mean, I couldn't code Hello World, right? And there's a lot of people in IT that's not their thing. They don't get that part of development and deployment, and so there's a skill transition. And sometimes, frankly, I'd be embarrassed or something. I couldn't do this, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to offer you the things that I can give you, and that's what I have. And then the other groups are like, screw this, I'll just go somewhere else and get it.
So speaking of DevOps, what are the operational changes that you see? Because it's not just about software or the ability to quickly and easily spin up a development environment,
right?
But like there really has to be a culture change. So what are your thoughts on that, guys?
Go ahead.
Change is inevitable.
Well, no, so I alluded to it already, right? The real change is in trust, and in that trust, it's you have to trust that the people on the other side are actually working with you and not against you. Yeah. And it really starts coming down to communication, and then how you outline your needs and your requirements. And then being able to accept those needs and requirements and deliver on those, and a lot of that, and the thing that I find interesting is it's not really a technology problem, right? It has to be the organization looking and saying, we're getting killed in the market, or it's taking us too long to deliver feature sets and to get our differentiating value to market and to customers and to be more agile. God, I'm trying not to use buzzwords, but they kind of fit.
And those are the buzzwords are the definitions.
Yeah,
business issues and outcomes, right?
Yeah. You're stepping away from your own personal desires and the things that you want to implement, and ensuring that everything that's being done is to meet the business goals for the business to be able to deliver. Yeah. And when you do that, it goes back to if you look at the Avengers. I don't want any spoilers for people who haven't seen it, but there's an event in the movie where now the Avengers are all drawn together to common cause and common enemy to the falling of a comrade, and they use that, right? It essentially
ruined the movie for us.
Tahiti is a wonderful place.
Tahiti is a wonderful place. So, no spoilers, everybody. I didn't say any names.
I think the no spoilers thing has expired. It's been like 3 years.
Okay, fair enough. We all love Coulson. But by having common cause and everybody knowing that they're all rowing the ship in the same direction, and to meet the same end goal, when you break it down into a simplest form, that's all it is. And Luke Deacons, like, just absolutely, I love Luke because he's just like, DevOps is stupid because it's what we've been doing for 25 years. Right? It's what you're supposed to do, and that's the difference, right? It's what you're supposed to do, but it's not what everybody's been doing, unfortunately. Everybody's gotten into their own little container in their own little world, and they've kind of lost sight of why they've done that. And I don't say that in a negative or derogatory, tone. It's just we get very focused. We're doing what we're doing. This stuff changes so frequently.
Change is scary. I mean, it's there's uncertainty there. There's potential for failure. People don't want to look foolish. They want to be able to have the answer. And if I only focus on the area of expertise that I'm truly strong at, then it's easy for me to give the correct answer. If I have to go off someplace else and actually uncharted territory, then I'm less hesitant. And what we're dealing with, these aren't so much technological issues, it's more their human nature, their cultural, and there needs to be a more, I think we've been talking about this for a century at least, the cultural change within IT.
Feels like 100 years.
It does.
Underwater.
The cultural aspects of IT have to change along with it. They need to be more like the other organizations, or other BUs inside an organization. The sales team, all they want to do is go out and sell stuff, right? You need to be able to facilitate that, and they're not worried about all the other things in the background. They are only worried on the one thing that's in front of them, and therefore you need to empower that.
It's not necessarily IT's fault, because like many times there's like zero management of like things in progress. There's a backlog. Business doesn't always communicate properly to IT. Right.
That comes back down to trust. I had a conversation with a gentleman in the U.S. and he was talking about how he has all these ideas, he wants to implement all these things, and he can't get buy-in. Like, his management just won't let him do it. And I'm like, well, how did you ask him? He's like, well, I told him how cool it was. I'm like, they don't care.
They don't care.
They don't care how cool it is. What they care about is where's the value, and the problem is that if you're having an organization where the leadership has not necessarily completely lost trust, but is always worried that all you're wanting to do is implement the great next cool thing without actually working through its value and how it aligns. I mean, okay, folks, here's my challenge to every SE and account executive out there. If you're selling and you don't understand the value of the product to the customer, you're just making their life harder.
Yeah.
Right? Because they could love your technology, they could want to implement it, but if you're not helping them facilitate that conversation and then having that conversation with their leadership and making sure that everybody's on the same page, you're not fostering trust and you're not making it easy for someone to purchase and consume your product.
All you're doing is essentially coming in and you're spitting out.
Well, you're getting somebody excited about something that's new and interesting that intuitively has value, but you can't run just on intuition alone.
Oh, I mean, if I had $1 for every pitch that I did where I'm like, hey, this is cool, and to be doing something but I need to understand the business requirement before I can really matriculate an answer and development to a customer's problem, right? Yep. When I come in and I talk to a customer, I want to find out more about their environment first, and it's for me at least, it's more about listening and understanding and finding what the pain point is. And then I can find out if I have a solution that actually works for them. Because I want to get to getting the answer as fast as possible. Because I don't want what we call free consulting. I want to get to the know. I want to find out, like, is there a good fit here? Do I need to continue to have a conversation with you? And if it's not, I'm totally cool with that, right? It's like, then I don't have to spend another 3 hours here working on something that's essentially futile. And you can get really caught up in the fact that, hey man, I'm really excited about this product, it's the best thing ever, I want to go tell the whole world about it. But then ultimately what it boils down to is you're selling something, so you have to go out and learn how sales actually works.
Sure.
It's finding an issue and solving a problem and having your product be the problem solver.
All right, moving on. Something else that's been cool so far, this is the vExpert Roundup, right? So tons of experts at VMworld in Barcelona.
Well, now that the program has expanded, almost 1,000 members, it's only 987 vExperts. Yeah, you're probably going to have a lot.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So what?
You're not special anymore.
Yeah, we're not special.
I've never been special.
Oh, we're still special.
Oh, no, you've always been special.
Special D.
Well, Yeah, I mean, so here's the thing, guys. Like, there's a ton of vExperts at VMworld Barcelona. It's been great interacting with them and being able to see them at the show. You know, connecting faces with names. It's one of the greatest values as far as networking goes at VMworld. And I certainly want to give a shout out to Corey Romero on you know how he's continuing the program, because it's a lot of fun to be able to interact with people who are equally passionate about the technology
and growing it to the extent that they have. I think when I first became an vExpert in 2012 or whatever, or 2011. I don't have my stars on this shirt. But you know, that's another thing. I've seen more vExpert shirts than I've ever seen at any conference before. I mean, Tintry did. They kind of started that trend of the vExpert gift with the Tintry vExpert shirts, and it's awesome to see it. And I walk around the convention center or I'm in the Solutions Exchange. You cannot go more than 20 or 30 feet without seeing a vExpert.
Yeah. And so the funny thing about those, the gifts, by the way, much appreciation to everybody that delivers on gifts for the vExperts. We certainly appreciate it. What is kind of funny is outside of a conference when you wear that, people look at you kind of funny. Why do you have your name on your shirt? I'm like, well, I had it on my underwear, so I naturally should put it on my shirt too.
Well, it is funny. Usually, if I'm on a flight or someplace and I have like a vExpert shirt on or something like that, it's funny. You'll see somebody. It's like automatically they know if they're a vendor, because they're like, oh, I recognize that, or I recognize that logo. It is kind of funny, obviously, with a somewhat interesting Twitter handle. You get a lot of odd looks sometimes. You're like, oh, really? Bacon is king? I'm like, yeah.
Not because of your Twitter handle.
No, sorry.
No.
Anyway, now I've lost my train of thought.
It was going to derail anyway.
Yeah, that's all right. I'm horrible at this.
Okay. So I don't know how much more time that we have.
Apparently forever.
What is the time frame for this?
We have 0 times.
Okay, so I think we need to wrap up.
About 10 minutes ago.
Oh, okay, great. Nobody told me how long, so I was just, this is how I roll. All right, well, guys, I really appreciate you being on with me, and we appreciate the live audience and everybody here at VMworld Barcelona 2014. Yeah, and I'm not raising any roofs. But so far, it's been a fantastic show. I'm sure tomorrow's roundup is going to have a lot more interesting things to discuss.
For people who actually paid attention to the keynotes.
All right, well, thanks a lot, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.